Anxiety, in the Buddhist understanding, does not emerge from nowhere. It has roots, deep ones. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering, including anxiety, springs from two main sources: craving and aversion. We crave safety, certainty, comfort, and outcomes that align with our desires. At the same time, we fear and resist anything that threatens our sense of control. When life becomes unpredictable, these mental habits tighten like a noose. Our thoughts spin stories about what might go wrong, grasping at security where none can truly be found. But the Buddha invites us to take a different approach. Rather than running from discomfort or clinging to fleeting pleasures, he asks us to pause and observe. What is really happening beneath the surface of anxiety? Often, it is our own resistance to reality that creates the most turmoil. We want things to be other than they are, and in that wanting, we suffer. The first step in easing anxiety is not fixing life's chaos, but seeing our relationship to it clearly. When we begin to notice how craving and aversion fuel our restless minds, we open a doorway to peace. Not by force, but by understanding. And in this simple seeing, something begins to soften. The anxiety is still there, perhaps, but it no longer owns us in quite the same way. Mindfulness, as the Buddha taught, is not a cold or clinical awareness. It is gentle, warm, and attentive. When anxiety arises, our minds often spin into the future, crafting endless scenarios of what might go wrong. Mindfulness invites us back to this breath, this body, this moment. Here, and only here, can peace be found. When we sit with our anxiety mindfully, we're not trying to push it away, nor are we feeding it with more fearful thoughts. Instead, we observe. Anxiety feels like this. We notice the racing heart, the tight chest, the flood of restless thoughts. And we breathe. With each gentle acknowledgement, we disentangle ourselves from the panic and return to the simplicity of now. This practice is not about quick fixes. Sometimes the anxiety lingers, and that's okay. Mindfulness is about changing our relationship with it, not erasing it, but holding it with spacious awareness. Over time, this simple act of returning to the present moment builds a new habit. A habit of calm attention rather than anxious reaction. In this presence, we find a kind of quiet courage. Life remains uncertain, but we are no longer lost in the storm of our thoughts. Mindfulness becomes our anchor, steady and kind, amidst the changing tides of life. Breathing, in its simplicity, is one of the Buddha's most profound teachings. When anxiety strikes, our breath often shortens, quickens, or becomes shallow without our even noticing. But within each breath lies a path back to stillness. The Buddha taught us to watch the breath, not to control it forcefully, but to observe its natural rhythm, rising, falling, coming, going. When we gently place our attention on the breath, we interrupt anxiety's loop. Instead of fueling worry with more thoughts, we rest our awareness on the one constant always available to us. Inhaling deeply, we feel life entering our body. Exhaling slowly, we let go, if only for a moment, of the need to control the future. Breath meditation is not about achieving perfection. Some breaths will be tight, some will be smooth. What matters is our intention to return, again and again, to this simple refuge. With practice, the breath becomes a bridge, a passage from agitation to calm, from scattered thoughts to presence. And in that quiet space between inhaling and exhaling, something soft and steady emerges. It's not the absence of fear, but the presence of something deeper, an awareness untouched by anxiety's waves. This awareness doesn't fight the storm. It simply sits beneath it, still and silent. Control is a comforting illusion. So much of our anxiety stems from the belief that if we could only control enough, our circumstances, our future, even our thoughts, then we would finally feel safe. But life, as the Buddha gently reminds us, is not something we can grasp in our fists. It flows and shifts beyond our plans, our expectations, our fears. Rather than clinging tighter, Buddhism invites us to soften our grip. This is not resignation, but surrender, the wise recognition that certainty is beyond our reach, yet peace is not. When we let go of our frantic need to predict and manage every outcome, we discover a surprising freedom. The energy we once spent fighting reality becomes available for presence, compassion, and clarity. Letting go does not mean we stop caring about our lives. It means we stop suffering over what we cannot control. We still make plans, but we hold them lightly. We still prepare for the future, but we no longer let its uncertainty rob us of today's peace. This letting go is not a single moment of release, but a practice repeated daily, breath by breath. And in this release, we find space to breathe again. Life becomes less of a battlefield and more of a river, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but always flowing, and we learn to flow with it, not against it. When anxiety rises, our first instinct is often harshness. We scold ourselves for feeling weak, broken, or out of control. But the Buddha taught a gentler way: compassion. Instead of battling anxiety like an enemy, we learn to meet it like a suffering child, worthy of care, not condemnation. This shift changes everything. Imagine holding your own fear with tenderness instead of resistance. It's okay, we tell ourselves. This too is part of being human. We stop running from our anxiety and start listening to it, feeling its edges without judgment. This doesn't mean we indulge the fear, but we stop adding cruelty on top of pain. Self-compassion isn't indulgence. It's the courage to face our struggles honestly and kindly. When we soften toward ourselves, anxiety loses some of its power. The walls we built to protect our hearts, walls of judgment, shame, and avoidance, begin to crumble. In their place, space opens for healing. The Buddha's path is not about erasing difficult feelings, but about relating to them wisely. Compassion is that wisdom in action. It reminds us that anxiety does not define our worth. It is simply a weather pattern in the mind, passing through. With compassion as our companion, we stop walking alone. And sometimes, just knowing we're not alone, even in our own hearts, is enough to ease the weight of anxiety, if only for a little while. Anxiety often feels endless, as if it will stretch on forever. But the Buddha's insight into impermanence reveals a deeper truth: nothing lasts. Not joy, not sorrow, not fear. All experiences arise, linger for a time, and eventually fade. This understanding doesn't erase anxiety, but it places it in a much larger context, one where even our most overwhelming feelings are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. When we sit with anxiety, knowing it is impermanent, something inside loosens. We don't have to solve it right now or make it disappear instantly. Instead, we watch it come and go, like waves rising and falling on the ocean. Sometimes the waves are big and crashing. Other times they are gentle ripples. But they never stay the same. Buddhist practice encourages us to witness this changing nature without clinging to what feels good or pushing away what feels hard. Even our anxious thoughts shift moment by moment. One minute we're worried about the future, the next minute a new thought appears. This constant flow is life itself. By seeing impermanence clearly, we stop believing in the story that anxiety will last forever. We realize it is simply one chapter in a much bigger book. And in that realization, we may find moments of relief, not because the anxiety is gone, but because we are no longer trapped in the illusion of its permanence. The Buddha spoke of right effort as part of the Eightfold Path, a balanced, skillful approach to cultivating the mind. When facing anxiety, right effort doesn't mean forcing ourselves to feel calm or pretending we aren't afraid. Instead, it means gently guiding our thoughts toward what nourishes peace rather than what feeds fear. Anxiety grows when we unconsciously repeat habits of worry, rumination, and self-criticism. Right effort invites us to notice these patterns and choose another way. We might replace anxious thoughts with reflections of kindness. May I be safe. May I be at peace. Or we might pause to appreciate something simple and grounding, a quiet moment, a friendly smile, the warmth of sunlight on our skin. This effort is gentle, not harsh. We aren't fighting the anxious mind. We are patiently training it, like tending a garden. Some weeds of fear will still sprout, but over time, we plant seeds of calm, compassion, and clarity. And just like a garden, these new habits take time to grow. Right effort reminds us that we have a choice, not over what thoughts appear, but over which ones we water with our attention. Slowly, moment by moment, we cultivate a mind that leans toward peace. Anxiety may still visit, but it no longer runs the show. Our steady effort, grounded in kindness, becomes a quiet strength that supports us through life's storms. In the face of anxiety, we often swing between extremes. Either we try to suppress our feelings, pretending everything is fine, or we drown in them, letting fear consume us. But the Buddha offered another way, the middle way. This path doesn't deny our struggles, nor does it allow them to define us. It invites us to walk with them, gently and steadily, without getting lost. The middle way is a path of balance. When anxiety arises, we don't run from it, but we also don't collapse beneath its weight. We acknowledge its presence, breathe with it, and take one mindful step at a time. Life's storms may swirl around us, but we carry an inner steadiness that no storm can take away. This balance requires ongoing awareness. Some days, we may lean too far into worry. Other days, we may numb ourselves to avoid discomfort. But the middle way invites us to notice these tendencies without judgment and return to the center again and again. Walking this path doesn't make us immune to fear, but it transforms how we relate to it. We stop seeing anxiety as a failure and start seeing it as part of the human experience. With each mindful step, we cultivate resilience, not by avoiding storms, but by learning how to walk through them with grace. And in this walking, we find freedom, not from life's challenges, but from the suffering we add on top. And so, as this journey draws to a quiet close, we return to where we began, not in the restless chase for answers, but in the simple, steady presence of this moment. The Buddha's teachings don't promise a life without anxiety. Instead, they offer a path where anxiety is met with clarity, compassion, and courage. Close your eyes now, if you wish. Notice the rhythm of your breath, soft and gentle. Feel your body resting, grounded in this space. Whatever storms may swirl in your mind, know that they will pass. They always do. Beneath them, there is a stillness that no fear can touch. It's been there all along, patiently waiting for you to notice. In your journey forward, anxiety may still arise. Thoughts may still race. But now, perhaps, you will meet them differently. With kindness instead of judgment. With presence instead of panic. With a quiet wisdom that understands, this too will pass. The Buddhist path isn't about escaping life's challenges, but walking through them with open eyes and an open heart. Each breath, each step, is an opportunity to return. To rest in the calm beneath the noise. To trust in the impermanence of all things. And to remember that even in your struggles, you are not alone. The same wisdom that guided countless others through their storms is here for you, too. Rest now. Tomorrow will come as it will. But for this moment, simply be.